Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a great day. One of the reasons I started in this YouTube channel thing is to kind of help others out there and obviously share my journey. As well as that, obviously I want you guys to share your journeys as well, okay? And if you haven't so far contributed to the community, you haven't said anything, or you haven't told us what you invested in, things like that, just please share as much as you can, okay? And honestly, it really helps. One of the things that happened just last 24 hours is I got a comment from one of the community members, and they said, you know what, the ETFs, the ones that we own in our portfolio, well, in this portfolio anyway, the iShares World and iShares Islamic World and the US versions have reduced their expense ratios. And that was really interesting. I thought, you know what, that's really good. So alhamdulillah, remember expense ratios, we'll talk about it in a second in more details, but they eat a lot of your income, like returns. So it's nicer to have expense ratios that are in line with what the markets are getting, you know, paying, for example, right? Normal, like we're talking about the Vanguards and iShares, you know, those huge ETFs. Obviously, we will pay less, we'll pay more, sorry. And the reason we will do that is because ours needs to be kept. Someone has to monitor it, whether it's shariah compliant or not. So it's a lot more work, I guess. Okay, I'm assuming there's a lot more work because they have to hire someone to obviously oversee it and so on. So anyway, because of that, I think expense ratios for us is quite expensive, right? So what we want to do is today just do a quick review of all three ETFs. Okay, so we're talking about the Islamic world, the US, and the emerging markets, and see how much the expense ratios was reduced, and if there are anything else like the companies that are in there, dividend yields, the PE, anything else if anything else has changed. Okay, and we will start with ISWD, which is the World Islamic. So this means it includes companies around the world. I'm not going to go into a lot of details because we've done loads of videos on these companies before, these ETFs before, but yeah, so World Islamic is the one that we're after. Okay, and right now, as you can see, it's in dollars, and also you can find a pound version if you live in the UK. Okay, and so let's go into straight down into the expense ratio. The expense ratio here says 0.30%. I think this was 0.6, right? You know, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think that's what it was. I haven't looked at the what we talked about before, but I think it was 6. Okay, 0.60. So they halved it in a way, and that is really good. I mean, that is genuinely good. It's not as good as obviously 0.02 or 0.04 for some of the ETFs they have for the for basically that are not Sharia compliant. But it's still almost like a managed ETF. It's actually not that bad, okay? And I like the fact it's reduced. I hope this is not a mistake, okay? So for some of you thinking, what the hell is expense ratio? Expense ratio is basically the amount of money we have to pay for these guys to manage this thing. So they put the ETF together, and obviously someone have to oversee this whole thing, and we pay 0.30. So what does that actually mean? So for example, if you own $10,000 or pounds, whatever, worth of this ETF, by the end of the year, okay, you pay about £30. Basically, that's what it is, okay? Okay, so you pay about £30 every single year. That's what it is. In comparison to what other people will pay, so 10,000 invested in a 0.04, they will only pay $4 a year. So that's how much less they're paying, 0.04. Okay, I think that's one of the top ETFs, one of the S&P 500, I think. They have like 0.02 or 0.04 or whatever it is, okay? So we do pay a little bit more than what other people are paying for the ETFs, but because they put it together, obviously, in Sharia compliance side of things, I'm happy with it. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Adds up, by the way. So if you're thinking about in the next 20 years, you will pay, but what you're paying for is that peace of mind. And one of the reasons, let's just talk about that now. One of the reasons you will invest in ETF like this is, and not buy individual stocks, is the fact that I have to keep an eye on 3M. I have to read their basically earnings reports, and I have to actively look for basically just research about the company every quarter. Find out how they're doing, what is the forecast, what's happening to the big company. When you're talking about ETFs, they do all of that for you, okay? And even if you change shariah side, compliance side of things, you've seen before where I had to get rid of the stocks because they were no longer compliant and so on. We don't have to do any of that in here, okay? That peace of mind, the fact that they will rebalance it for you, they will take care of that. You just buy the ETF, leave it alone, you get your dividends, reinvest that and forget about it, okay? You don't have to keep up. If this company goes down tonight, okay, I will lose 2,880 something pounds, right? If it's part of an ETF, it might be 1% of that ETF. They get rid of that and add another one in there. So they do all of that for you. And for that reason, because of that peace of mind, and some of you probably would prefer that, and I know that because you've actually told me before, okay? For that reason, okay, paying this little bit of money, okay, it's not that bad. So that peace of mind, you buy it, you forget it every single month, your dollar cost average, and you completely forgot about it, okay? So as you can see here, there's a couple of other things. So they do pay their some dividends. So that is the dividend, annual dividend. So they pay in May and they pay in November. So we'll see what November tells us. So their fiscal year actually finishes October 31st. So again, as soon as it finishes, then we get our distribution or our dividends. The other good things about this is you can actually, if you live in the UK, obviously you can buy this through your if you have a retirement accounts that you managing yourself, you can do that. You can buy it just like you've seen it through your ISA as well. If you okay, so yeah, there's a lot of good things about this. So let's have a quick look then the holdings, because that is the bit that we're interested as well. So let's see. Top 10, as you can see, the two things I'm interested is the name of the company and the weighting, because I don't like ETFs that have 10-15% of one single stock. Okay, that means 10%, 15% will be gone if that company is out the window, right? So anyway, so let's have a look at J&J. We've got top 4, just over 4%. Exxon is 3.5. Now Chevron and Exxon were not actually the top 5. I'm assuming because they went up so much and they haven't rebalanced it yet. That's probably why. So if they rebalance it soon, then it might actually go down. Okay, then you got Pfizer, Merck, Adobe, Danaher, Shell, and Apple Laboratories. So majority of them is healthcare and energy companies. There's only one technology company, one consumer, but the rest of this is either energy or healthcare. That's interesting. So that must be the top. So the top 10, I don't know exactly what the weighting is. In fact, we'll find out in a bit. Let's make it slightly bigger. Then you got Cisco, you got Salesforce. Salesforce used to be top 10, but because it went down quite a bit, maybe that's why it's only now 1%. You got Cisco, Novartis, you got Lin, you got Intel. Okay, so Rio Tinto's, Canadian Natural Resources. So you got a lot of great companies on the top, but then from here onwards is less than 1%. Okay. So all of this, I like it. I like the fact that how it's balanced. So you're looking about from 3% and 3%, sorry, 4%, 3%, 3%, 2%, 1%, and almost 2%. And then from there onwards, I don't like when ETFs, like I said before, like 5-6% of every single thing. So that's okay. So that's okay. In terms of diversification, again, US will be predominantly will be US based, even though it's the world. But we're talking about, when we say the world, I think it's developed world, and this is one of the things. Okay, so the key benefits of investing in these ETFs is diversified exposure to developed companies. Okay, so that's the most important. So they're not actually are developing country, basically companies. They are already developed. Direct investment in developed world companies that comply with Sharia investment principles and international market exposure. So that's what it gives you. Okay. And as you can see, the performance hasn't been bad. So if you invested about 10,000, right, and I think 2021 it did really well. Okay, you would have got about 21.51% if you actually invested in 2021, and the benchmark was 22. So basically you're almost mirroring the benchmark, which is quite nice. So the performance hasn't been that bad at all. All right, there you go. So the top 10 actually is about 26 to almost 27%, and it's not bad. I've seen some ETFs that way you've got that 20, almost the 40-50% is just the top 10. Right now it's not, so just quite nice. Okay, so let's go down and just look at sectors. Okay, you can see healthcare and energy are the top. I'm assuming energy, that it's not because they bought more energy. I'm assuming it's because it's actually gone up so much. That's what I'm assuming, okay? Healthcare has also gone up quite a bit. But yeah, information technology, materials, industrials, consumer. This is interesting. That's almost like my portfolio because I don't have communications, utilities, real estate. I've got a little bit of it. Consumer discretion, actually, I have quite a bit, and so on. Right. That is the world one, and it looks all right. So definitely it looks like they have reduced the cost, which is nice for us. The companies have not changed much. Okay, they still paying your dividends as well. And in fact, let me just see what the dividends is. I think I saw it. I think it was 1.7%. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. Distribution yield is 1.70, and that is really nice and healthy dividend to get paid. Okay, although their dividend is very, very small, but that is a good one. Right, that's the first one. The second one is the US. Okay, so the Islamic US version. Let's go straight down to. We're not going to look at the performance and things like that. Again, look at that expense ratio 0.30. So it's exactly the same. They're still paying that dividends. Okay. Yeah, this is exactly the same. Right, let's go to the holdings. J&J 7.24%. That's huge. Right, so if you own those two, you earn, basically you own about over 10% or 11, almost 12% of J&J between owning the two ETFs. That's interesting. Then you got Exxon, you got Procter & Gamble. Wait a second, that's exactly the same. Right, hold on a second. I'm really confused here. Right, so Cisco is the only one I see that's different. So let's go back here and let's go back all the way down. Sorry, I keep scrolling up and down. I just want to see top 10. Let's go and hide this. Okay, so J&J, Exxon, PG, and then other laboratories. Okay, Shell is different. Right, oh my days, is exactly the same. The difference is Cisco and Shell, I think, swapped, but everything else is the same. That's interesting. But this is 7% J&J, Exxon almost 6%, 6% for Procter & Gamble, 6% for 4% for Chevron, 4.5%. Okay, this must have. So let's go to literature and just click this fact sheet, and then we can see what percentage. You can tell I'm looking at this for the first time because I just thought, okay, distribution is 1.23. That's what it was anyway before. I think the expense ratio is there. For almost 50%. Yeah, obviously, because look at the 7%, 6%, almost 7%, 5%. So almost the 50%, the US version is actually just top 10, almost 50%, or 45%, let's call it. Okay, and performance-wise, was last year was 28, so it did better than the other one, 28 point, almost, let's call it 29, and 29.21 was the benchmark. So again, it mirrors the benchmark. Again, to be honest with you, I don't mind that because these are top companies, J&J, Exxon, and so on. I would have loved the oil companies maybe to be slightly lower, but I think they haven't rebalanced it yet, so that's interesting. But expense ratio, again, exactly reduced, I think, in half, which is really nice for us. They're still paying that dividend of 1.23%. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, fine, absolutely no issues there. Right, finally, we are going to look at the emerging markets. I got rid of this one here because I got fed up a little bit because of, I'll show you exactly the reason. I hope they haven't changed. Let's go to, not performance. We are interested in the, this was 7, was it 7%, 0.7 or 0.8? I think it was 7. I think they halved it as well. That's interesting. So it's actually not bad. Okay, that's all right. They are, let's have a look at this, still doing paying that dividend. What else do we need? Right, in terms of sort of rebalancing, fiscal year is there. They're still rebalancing every quarter, so they're still doing that. So there we go, rebalancing frequency is every quarter, so that not a lot has changed. So let's go down the holdings in 329 different companies. So let's go down to the holdings. And let's go to the top. Where is the top? What is going on here? Right. Oh, Samsung is the top. Okay. 13%. Yeah, this is one of the reasons. Okay. it had, I think when I sold it, the biggest company that on the top was the Taiwan Semiconductor, okay, and I didn't like that. I think that was like 14% or whatever it was, and this one is almost 14%. Now Samsung is the biggest one, so anything happens to Samsung, you're looking about 14% down. Reliant company. So some of these companies I don't know. That's a Saudi bank, I think. Samsung, Emirates Telecom, Saudi Arabia or Arabian or Samsung again. Right, so you've got, because it's emerging markets, okay, the top companies like will be from, let's go to here, yeah, you got Korea, you got India, China, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Taiwan, okay, all the developing countries. So there we go. And then sector, you can see information technology is the biggest one. Materials, wow, that's interesting. Materials is the second biggest. Energy, consumer, stables, financials. Okay, I'm not a big fan on this one, I'll be honest with you, right? The expense ratio now came down quite a bit, which is nice. So let's go into the literature and see is there's anything else that we need to look at, and we can also check the performance there. Okay, so again, yeah, 0.35. Diversified emerging markets, direct investment in emerging markets, companies that comply, and emerging markets exposure. And look at that, that performance is absolutely terrible. 2.97%, and then the market was about 4%. So I underperformed the market. This one they tweaked every couple of quarter. I think they've kept changing it. I think that's probably why the performance was not as good. So 2021 it did really well because emerging markets were really good. 2021 it didn't do really well. And as you can see, 36, almost 37% is actually just based on these top 10 companies. Okay, yeah, again, it's fine. I'm not really interested in this one only because some of the companies I don't really know. I don't know much about the emerging markets. I don't know how great this company, their financials are, if they're going to be. Obviously, they will manage this for you, but at the same time, maybe I just need to do a little bit more research in these companies because I don't feel comfortable enough to invest in these ETFs, right? Right, let me tell you quickly my plan of what I'm doing with this, okay? So I have those two right now. As you can see, let me go into the actual ETF pie. Okay, so it's £1,244. I'm up just 4% or £51 so far. Now, based on, I just need to do a little bit more research because I'm just confused the fact that the top 10 companies are exactly the same apart from Shell. I was hoping that was not the case, but it is. So yeah, apart from that, I'm still comfortable. I will be, because now the expense ratio is less, I will be buying more of this inshallah going forward. Okay, I will be adding a little bit more money, especially like I remember I said the other day, I'm going to rebalance my portfolio and get more energy companies in my portfolio. I think if I'm getting it from here, both from these two, right, I might as well just forget about it and add that money here. Okay, and that will be diversified anyway. So yeah, so I might do that. I haven't made a decision yet. As soon as I make a decision based on whatever is going to happen, I will let you know. But I've been adding about £100 to this ETF every single month, but now I'm going to add a little bit more going forward, and because the expense ratio is halved, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's my take on this. If you find anything else basically about these ETFs, let me know. Like I've always said to you guys, just do your research, find out what works for you. I mean, like I said, it gives you that peace of mind. You just buy it, forget about it, and you just pay the expense ratio, right? And if you are using a brokerage like a free brokerage here, where you're not paying any commissions and stuff, it actually works out in the long run perfectly. Okay, and that's my plan, just to keep buying a little bit here. It's quite volatile, as you can see, just like the market has been this year. Because if you look at the top 10 companies, you're looking at the top 10 in the world if you think about it. Okay, so yeah, anyway, that is me done. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it makes sense what's going on. I love the fact that they halved it. That means something. That was really good for me anyway. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Assalamu alaikum, take care.